the case with Holly. Is it Holly Green or Grieg and
Grieg, yes, Grieg.
Grieg? Yeah, with Brian Gerrish there and all those guys there in London. Major tragedy to have the state take over her custody, which means that they're just protecting the criminals. So we can see that the system still wants to go ahead, corrupt as ever, business as usual. It's all commerce law. It's not about your justice or law or facts, and it's just about process, colour of law. And I think they took 7 minutes to... They took a recess, I think it was 7 minutes, and came back with 40 minutes of decision. And Brian Gerrish...
How does that even work? I mean, how can you make a decision that takes 40 minutes to read out in 7 minutes? I mean, that should be the red flag right there.
Big red flag. Big red flag. Look, Ravana, I'm confident that this evil is going to be knocked off very, very soon. How it's going to happen is the trick, but we need to keep our eyes open and waiting to see, because the moment will come. And the same thing is going on with Kate. I mean, the banks are obviously didn't do anything for a year and a half, and then all of a sudden when the Denekay ultimatum came out, and of course Kate is the person who devised the document, and Kate would be, well, let's say in scriptural terms, Kate would be the shepherd. So when you strike the shepherd, the intention is for the flock to disperse. I'm part of the flock, and I haven't dispersed, and I'm not going away. I never will. And as Kate, I know Kate is in that prison, and she's standing in honour, doing everything in honour. So the universe is already making its judgment, and it appears that all these other young men who are in their clown suits and who are operating a system which is corrupt in honour, according to them, are actually being dishonourable. And let's hope that these young boys and men and older men wake up soon and turn to the side of honour before it's too late, man, because otherwise they're going to be in a very, very nasty situation, aligned with some evil forces. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I would agree. I think that go back to look at what happened in Nazi Germany. You know, during the Nuremberg trials, the people that went on trial who said, well, I was just following orders. Well, it didn't fly, and it's not going to fly this time either. If you're just following orders, you need to stop and think about what those orders are, and if you can live with that. Because if you're just following orders simply to get your paycheck, and you're out kicking in doors and shooting people and tasering people to death and stuff, it's going to come back to you. And if it doesn't come back physically in this world, you're going to have to deal with it when you die. You've got to answer for it at some point. I mean, that's kind of my 2 cents worth on it.
Yeah, for sure. I enjoy reading the old philosophers, and Plutarch is one of my favourite, and he talks about how the afterlife is not very, very kind to people who have lived a dishonourable life in this life. You see, we hear this term kicking around, sell your soul to the devil. And we usually like to apply it to, you know, big rock and roll bands that get very, very famous and very, very rich. And we always tend to think, oh, they must have sold their soul to the devil, you know, a record label or something like that. Or, you know, we hear of Robert Johnson, how he went to the Crossroad in 38 or whatever, in the 30s. He was an average guitarist. He goes off, goes to the crossroads, sells his soul to the devil, strikes a deal, comes back, and all of a sudden he's this whiz-bang guitarist, and he's got all these great songs, and so the legend is there. But
Hellhound on my trail.
Yeah, bloodhounds on my trail.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a phenomenal guitarist, but yeah, you have to understand the framework of how that came about. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, in real terms, what that's all about, Ravana, is we sell our souls to the devil when our parents inform on us at birth, and the name on the birth certificate in their world means a baptism into the Catholic Universal Church, because of the 1302 papal bull, which declares that all souls are to be saved under the Catholic Church umbrella, and all souls that are not saved under the Church shall experience damnation. This is why they're so eager in their system to get you to be registered. And that's the soul being sold, unfortunately, and we don't realise that. It's a very, very sad situation that has occurred in the world. But the name is the mark of the beast. It's you're contracting with the world of commerce, the world of illusions, the world of material things, where you can actually own molecules. You see, the concept of ownership. And so everybody wants in on that, and there's where you're trading, and with the enemy, you're trading, you're dealing, and you're dealing with the enemy. Basically, that's the whole system. The whole system is built up on that, and the scriptures say that no one can buy and sell unless they have the mark of the beast. Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was just having a conversation with lady from Scotland, Galana, this morning, and I was mentioning that the court system, it's confession and penance. You go in, they ask you, are you guilty of these charges? You confess, yes or no or whatever. If you say no, then they have the trial, and then you have to do your penance, and that's the fines or whatever. So, I mean, on one level, yeah, it's all religious. I mean, it's all that religious framework.
Yeah, ecclesiastical. They are the priests of Baal. And interesting how Redbeard, Kate's friend, said at the court when they offered Red to pay Baal, he said, I don't bow down to Baal.
Nice. Yep.
Let them know. Let them know that we know now who you are. We know who the bar is. The bar is a foreign agency. It's not the bar in America is not the
British accredited registry.
That's it.
Yep.
Exactly. So therefore, they are a foreign agency, man. Mm-hmm. And Americans go to their courts in their droves, not realizing that these people have sworn an oath to the bar, to the crown, I guess, which is the Vatican.
Yep.
Yep. And they think they're going to an American judge, someone who has sworn to the Constitution to fulfill and honour the Constitution, and yet no, they are going to priests of Baal who have already sworn that they will do the will of a foreign shore entity. And the same thing is happening in this country.
Yep. And I was just having a conversation about that, and one way to correct that situation, if you are in court, and I have yet to try this, but this is something that can be tried. When they call your name, you say, Your Honor, is this a court of common law jurisdiction, and will my common law rights be upheld? Now, normally he will not answer, so you have to say it 3 times. After the 3rd time, you state, since this is not a court of common law jurisdiction and my common law rights will not be upheld, I cannot appear here, and I seek to appear into the proper jurisdiction, I think. You'll have to figure out how to say it for yourself, but basically you're saying that I'm not in the proper jurisdiction, and if you wish to continue with these charges, then please allow them to be in the proper jurisdiction, and I will appear. Because that's the whole thing. They're tricking you to appear not in the proper jurisdiction, and that's how they get away with everything. The other thing is if you are appearing and answering to that name, you are answering as an agent of that trust. Now you could state, I am appearing as the beneficiary, who is the trustee and who is the administrator of this account, and then we can proceed. Because also they're trying to trick you to be the trustee, because the trustee has all the liability.
That's right. That's right.
So if they can trick you to be the trustee, then you're accepting the liability. If you're the beneficiary, you don't have any liability. They can't charge you. You don't owe anything. The trustee owes. And who does the trustee owe? He owes the beneficiary.
Yep. They switch roles with you right under your nose without you being aware.
Yep.
And in anyone's books, that's dishonourable, regardless of how they play their games, and they think that that's honourable. That's devious. That's all part of Bale's system. And I've been exposing lately the part that the Swiss bankers are playing in all of this. That neutral country of Switzerland, not so pure after all.
Yeah, not so neutral. Read the book, what is it, the Swiss, the Gold and the Nazis, or something like that. Can't remember the exact name. But yeah, I mean, the Swiss were providing arms and munitions to Germany through most of the war. And not only just providing it, they were providing the loans in order to buy it. and acting as a broker to get the stuff out of the country without going through traceable channels, shall we say.
Yeah. Well, there's a beautiful video on YouTube called The Pharaoh Show. And in there, this guy, he's gone back into the history of Switzerland, found that it was founded in 1291, on August the 1st, 1291. And 2 months after Akon fell, the great stronghold of the Knights Templar, so the Knights Templar took 2 months to get back, founded the country, and of course we hear that 16 years after that, in 1307, Friday the 13th, August Friday the 13th, the Knights Templar were destroyed, and or either Jacques de Molay was burned alive, but they apparently ostensibly got rid of the Knights Templar, you see. But what this guy's saying is that they just founded Switzerland and they were neutral there, and of course they sent their ships across the Atlantic and founded colonies there, brought evidence back for that. There's lots of evidence. There's that beautiful Templar temple in Scotland. I forget the name of that one, but it's got Roslin. Yeah, I shouldn't forget that. Roslin, of course.
Well,
yeah.
The interesting thing, the interesting thing with Roslin also is it's a nature temple. I mean, if you look at the carvings and the illustrations in there, it's all plants and animals, and it's nature illustrated. And then you have to look at who built that and the background of that area. Well, when the Templars were the temple in Paris was raided in 1307, the treasure from the temple was not there. Well, somebody had tipped off the Templars. They loaded 18 galleons with treasures and artifacts and people and whatnot, and they left from Marseille. Well, some of them ended up in Scotland, and that's where the Belantradoc rite of Scottish Rite Freemasonry originated. And interestingly enough, who was a hereditary Grand Master of the Freemasons of Belantradoc? Robert Bruce and the Bruce family, James Bruce, the whole line, all the way down.
Aha. Well, isn't that intriguing? Isn't that amazing? Because what does that mean to you? I mean, to me, it means that potentially they've been setting up fictional schemes and pretending to be on the good side, but in the end, they're all part of the same stuff. You know what I mean?
Well, they're in one way to look at it, yes, they're on the same side, as in that they're all against the unwashed masses or the uninitiated. But on the other side, you have all these different factions fighting amongst themselves also. Like the Templars are totally anti-Catholic because of what was done to them. You know, the Masons up until recent times were the Catholics were very anti-Mason. To be a Mason, you have to believe in a higher power. You just don't have to say what higher power. You know?
That's right.
So I do believe that there's a lot of these groups that on some levels will work together, but at the same time, they're stabbing each other in the back just as much as they're stabbing us in the back. It's just the way they work. They can't help it.
Yep. That's what I see. Because obviously the Swiss Guard are looking after the Vatican, so there's a connection with the old Templars still.
Yeah. Well, that's, the right hand versus the left hand, I mean, maybe that was part of the deal. You guys provide us security, and we won't mess with you anymore. I mean, the main reason why they did it the first time was because the French king owed the Templars so much money that there's no way he would have ever been able to pay it back. So he's like, well, hey, they've got all this money, and I owe them money, so I can, solve two problems with one plan here. And then he convinced the Pope to help him out, and that worked to the Pope's advantage because the Templars had too much power in that realm because they were a religious order, also a monastic order. Yep. One of the probably the dumbest things that the Templars ever did was they let Malta go to the Hospitallers at one point, and that branch then became the Knights of Malta, and the Knights of Malta are a sovereign order to this day.
Yeah, well, just like the Knights of Christ with Henry the Navigator, the Portuguese navigator who
That was the Templars, yeah.
Yeah, and of course you've got the Teutonic Knights, I believe, that came from that, the Germanic ones.
Yeah, it was the Germanic version, yeah, the Germanic branch.
Anyway, this guy...
One was red on white, one was, I was trying to remember, white on red, and the Teutonic Knights were silver on black, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But it was all basically, it was the same symbol. It was the Maltese cross, or, a similar variant of the Christian cross. It just changed the color in the field.
Yeah. In this video, the Pharaoh show, 1.5 hours worth of watch. Have you ever seen it?
No, I've not seen that.
Oh man, you need to see the Pharaoh show. You'll love it. You will absolutely love it. There's some deep stuff that he's uncovered. One of the things he's uncovered, though, is that Swiss comes from the word les sœurs d'Isis, which means the sisters of Isis. In fact, the Germans call it Schwesterland, I think, something like that, which means the land of the sisters.
Right.
It's yeah. And so, but those sisters of Isis are the priesthood of Amun-Ra, you see, or the priests of Baal. It's the same the banking guy that sits on the bench, dressed in black, and Amun-Ra in their system. That would be Saturn, you know, and they turn up in court,
Yeah.
and they're
Well,
banksters. They tell
well,
you.
yeah. The judges wear the black robes, and oh, let me see. Wasn't there an order of the monastic priesthoods that were known as the black robes? Wasn't that the Dominicans, or was
Yep.
that the Sternians? I think it's
I'm thinking the Dominicans too, because they were a scary bunch, the Dominicans.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Not real pleasant people to be around.
Nope. Nope. Just as bad as the Jesuit types, I would say.
Yeah, yeah.
And
You want to go into the Jesuits a little bit?
yeah, hey, let's go wherever the conversation takes us, I guess.
Yeah. Baron von Kovenbach. Supposedly, he is second only to the Pope. Yep.
Well, there are people who like to say that the Pope is second to him.
I've heard that also. Yeah. And the other thing is you have to understand that the Jesuits, they have worked with just about every intelligence agency on the planet at one time or another. I mean, they were one of the original intelligence agencies. Before that, back and you had the Templars. The Templars had a intelligence agency aspect to them. And where did they get that? They got it from Hassan I-Sabah, the assassins of Alamant. Yep. I mean, that was really one of the first intelligence agencies. I mean, he had people in he had agents in nearly every single royal court in Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa at one time or another. And
interesting, isn't it?
Thing was, if you were doing something he didn't like, this was his warning. I love this one. His warning would be, you would wake up with either a knife laying across your throat or stuck into the pillow next to your head. And sometimes there'd be a note, and other times it would just be the dagger laying there. And you had to know what it was that you weren't or were supposed to do. That's all it was. That was the warning.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Kind of makes you wonder how all this came to be. I have an esoteric explanation which comes from the works of Thomas H. Bergel. He talks about the dark satellite, which is the animal chakra of the animal souls of the earth having 7 chakras, one being the dark satellite. All occultists are aware of the dark satellite. Now, exoteric types, your consensus sheeple that go to church, they never get taught that. They get taught that you've got to look out for Satan and his demons. because they're out there, God's enemies, and that's who you have to worry about. But what they're not doing is they're not revealing the true nature of the source of what we call evil. This evil that all this intrigue where royal and rich families feel that they need to work secretly underground with agencies that can gather and glean information from other countries so they can further their businesses and further their power in the world. It all appears to me to be a very, very materialistic mind that these unconscious entities must have. I mean, surely if you are conscious, a conscious human being, full of consciousness and love, what has power and intrigue and secrecy and materialistic pursuits? What have they got to do with consciousness and love and who you really are? We are just we come from a place of being. We come from a place called ether. And Plutarch said that the 5th element of ether is being. You see, the four other elements that we're so familiar with, earth, fire, air, and water, They have to do with the motion, the motion of the universe. You see, everything that we see is just pure motion, and it's controlled by these four states, these four rivers that come out of the Garden of Eden, the ether, which is being. And this is where they want to take us out of. They want to take us out of this being, and they want to bring us into the world of their thinking and their doing. And according to Plutarch, fire, being the element that comes from the ether, has to do in science with movement. He calls that movement. Fire moves. And fire is in reference to light and the sun, and the stars. Every star that you see is considered to be fire. That's the fire element, you see. So movement comes from there, from the being, you see. And then as you go down, you got air, water, and earth being the last of the elements. Earth is rest. So fire is movement, and earth is rest. You see, so this is what the rest of earth, what we call solid forms, because water is liquid, and gas, and air, the other element, is gas. So these are basically the four states of the physical universe: solid, liquid, gas, and radiance. And they correspond to the four Platonic solids. But the point I'm trying to make here is that that these powers that be, with all their power and and all their guns and their legalities, what they call law, which is not law, what they do is they instill fear into the masses and pull them out of their being, pulls them out of their right brain, which is the right brain, and puts them into the wrong brain, which is the left brain, which is the sinister brain. You see, that's where sin comes from. Sinister, the left brain. When you're in the left brain, you're all this, you're going around doing all this logical stuff and following orders and having opinions and mechanically responding, etc. But when you're in the right brain, you're in that being, the knowing who you are. You're in that place where you're at home. It's your paradise. It's like the crab that withdraws, or the turtle that withdraws its limbs and its head, into its home. That's the right brain. And they've been very clever in polarizing us to the left brain, you see, by enforcing the rule of right hand, do everything with the right hand. And they used to actually discipline children that would turn up in school and start writing with their left hands. My nephew was one of these, and they used to laugh at him and discourage him from using his left hand, But he continued with it. But what happens is if you are right-sided, and you're not ambidextrous, you're going to be very, very strong and healthy in the left brain. You're going to be really good for these people, these controllers. They want that, They want these right-handed, left-brained people. And they turn up as CEOs and generals in the army and, that's what Barack Obama is. He's the chief CEO of the Corporation of the United States, you see. And it's these types that they get to as their foot soldiers. And unbeknownst to them, these people are being pulled out of their being into their left brain, and they're following orders and loving it, thinking they're doing the right thing.
Yeah, it's brainwashing, pure and simple.
Yep.
That's pretty much it right there. I mean,
yeah, it is.
It's we no longer have an educational system. We have a training system. It's not teaching. It's simply indoctrination. It's training animals to do tricks. And, if that offends people, then go and do your own research and see if I'm wrong and prove me wrong. Because most uh, some of the videos on YouTube I simply can't watch because the stupidity of some of the people trying to answer questions is just mind-boggling. Like they were asking this guy, where's Iran? Because they're talking about going to war with Iran, and you're gonna love this one, Santo. So they showed this map, and they had written Iran on Australia, and he's like, "Oh, there it is. How did I miss that? It's so big."
oh, oh my God! And I wonder
Yeah.
how many of these.
Go
I
ahead.
wonder how
Yeah.
many of these boys that are so brainwashed that they're so happy to don these uniforms, proud as they can be. And I wonder how many of them think that Iran is just full of people that have families and children, and they might have a different colour skin. Yeah, the Persians. Oh yeah, yeah, they've got a olive sort of coloured skin, I guess. Yeah, they look differently. I wonder how many of these young boys think, as Bob Dylan said in his 1993 MTV appearance song where he says John Brown went off to war, and his mother said, "You get on that train, son, and you go and make me proud and come back with medals." He came back minus a few limbs, and his mother didn't recognise him. And he said, he wrote to his mother and he said, "I don't know what I'm doing here. All I can see is people that look like me, and I'm supposed to kill them." You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's. Do they ever think of the insanity? Do they ever think, "Hey, I'm actually going to go and participate in killing human beings"? Forget about what the chief CEO of the corporation of the United States says. Go out and it's the US and we need to defend democracy and bring democracy to the rest of the world, and Iran is a threat. How is it a threat? And how do they know? At the age of 18, how do they know? Have they studied and researched Iran? They don't even know where it is on the map, and yet they're
Right.
convinced. They are convinced by these propaganda machines that they're evil. Absolutely convinced, and they go forth. I wonder how many times they would think, what does it actually mean when you kill, when you murder another living, energetic life system? What does it mean? I don't think they think about it.
Did you ever see the movie Powder?
No.
You might be able to find it on. Somebody may have uploaded to Google or whatnot, but it's about this kid who's albino, and he has. The story is his mother was struck by lightning, and that's what triggered his labor, and he basically was conscious from that instant, and he was like super intelligent, had read like every book that he could get his hands on and whatnot, and he there's a scene in there where these guys kill a deer, and he goes up and he puts his hand on the deer, and then he grabs the guy's arm, and he basically makes himself a channel to allow this guy to see or feel what the deer is feeling. And later on, the guy is explaining it to his other partner, the other cop, and he's like, how did he put it? All I felt was scared and alone in the dark, and I didn't know what was happening. And he goes on describing this process, and he then says, I got rid of all my rifles. He's not even carrying his sidearm with his uniform. And if people could go out and actually experience that, I don't think anyone would shoot anything or kill anything else. I mean, if you really understood that's energy that is not understanding what's happening, it's not voluntary, and it doesn't want to be going through it. I mean, that goes back to free will,
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. That's pretty powerful. That's pretty powerful. Because if we could only see the feelings and the emotions and the thoughts of the person just before they get their heads blown off, we would soon realise that those people there are totally innocent. And you know, I mean, look what's happening in Libya. How many people how many civilians are perishing in Iraq? I think.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello there, Santos. Sorry.
Hey, Barbara. How are you?
Fine. How are you feeling?
Oh, great, great. Thanks for coming in. Then I've been speaking with Ravana. Say hello to Ravana there.
Hello, Rolana.
Hello.
How you doing?
Lovely.
I'm doing
Lovely.
good. We were talking about, well, killing and war and some of those nasty things. And, oh, I remember that quote now. It was scared and alone and slipping away in the dark. And that pretty much says it right there.
Yeah, that's what they feel like.
Yep.
Because you're not
And yeah,
around.
I mean, if you know, I got chickens. Eventually, I'm sure I'm gonna kill one and eat it. But you know, if you're killing someone, or you know, if you're going out and killing, you know, I mean, really any animal, you're violating that animal's free will, because he doesn't walk up to you and say, "Hey, I heard you're hungry. I'm sick of living. Why don't you shoot me and take me home and eat me?"
No, now, wait a minute, guy. Hold on. Hold on there. Animals are pre-evolutionary humans in the first place. Second, it is expected that the human, that is the third brain, and need for survival comes first. When an animal dies so that you can eat, that is considered part of their advancement, brownie points you might say, toward becoming a human. It is best if you do that, though, to pray and thank him for his spirit's sacrifice so that you can live. That gives you both brownie points.
Well, that's a good way to look at it. Yeah.
Now, you can go upstairs at any time in the divine realm and ask these things, and it sort of settles you out. If in war you are killing because it is part of the war experience, that's excused. If you war for the thrill of killing another human, that's an error. That's also recorded upstairs and can be looked at, identified, and so on. Usually between death and birth.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
Yeah. See that? Yeah.
Guys, you have to know that the other side that you're warring is there for the same purpose. They're probably both destined to die in that war, and there's a possibility that who you kill saw that who is going to kill him, and vice versa. Okay?
Yeah, but the point that we were kind of getting towards was, I mean, why do we have to have the wars anyway? You know, we're all humans, we're all people. We should be able to sit down and talk to each other and figure it out, rather than having to go grab a club and try to sneak up on the guy in the dark.
Sort it out.
I know, but there's a purpose for the war in the evolution of the human spirit. It teaches many lessons on both sides, and it may be required for massive karmic liability contract resolution, because you have to know that every spirit and every human has its own stage play, destiny, program, etc. And you have joined with the counselor upstairs to design your life from birth until death. And you're fitting into it. So what is the purpose? For war? Many. Absolutely, totally many. But until the human decides that it's more than just human, animal, human, no, you're not going to have the end of wars.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I would agree with that. I don't think that you're going to end war, period, because there's always going to be someone who's going to try and step out of line. But, like the war in Iraq, the war in Afghanistan, they're trying to go to war in Libya, trying to pull this no-fly zone for Syria. I mean, that's what they used to call a war of aggression. And if I remember, isn't that outlawed under international convention?
You also have to know, Guy, that the whole planet's in darkness as far as what it's here for. And the spirits in the Middle East are mortals. They're not immortals. That's a whole different story.
Well, yeah, because we're trapped into the 3D/4D, time continuum. I mean, that's okay. Wolfram von Eisenbach, in his Parsifal, the story of the bearer of the spear coming into the chapel and touching all four walls and then walking out again. Well, that's a metaphor for sealing our consciousness into three-dimensional materialistic reality based on the time and, space, length, width, breadth, and scientific knowledge and all that. And that cut us off from being able to access some of those higher levels. And I think that's partially why we are in the situation we're in with, say, the wars and courts and a lot of that stuff. Just the lies that we have to deal with on a daily basis from the establishment, I guess you'd say.
What stage are you in? Your spirit. Every spirit in this world is in a stage, and one of the stages in evolution, one of the 4 stages. Starts with mortal. Then if you decide to become an immortal, you're immortal. Then start the awakening, rise, and then crown stage. Every single solitary person is in one of those stages. And those stages they help determine your destiny and as well as the whole world. So, and nobody knows about their spirit, unfortunately.
Yeah, it reminds me of the animals in the jungle. You see a lion sees a nice little deer and he runs off and he rah and he grabs it and he eats it. And the deer didn't want to die, but it's the way that the animals are perpetuating their life, aren't they? Really, the lion wants to also survive. So we see how nature works, don't we? There's all this levels.
That's right. That's expected. And it's expected by the little, you might say, because they're driven instinctually to do this or do that because the spirit within them, the divine spark that's in them, has not learned as yet all the lessons necessary to be in that particular position or that particular creature. It's all set of lessons.
So you're going more along the lines of the transmigration of souls, that all souls are incarnating to higher or lower life forms as they go through their incarnations, and the goal is to go higher?
That's right. In a laboratory, if I remove your spirit from the body, your body drops into a coma in 4 hours and will die in 120. If we measure the signature pattern of your spirit, we can determine exactly what stage you're in, and we can also gain the psychological profile of that stage and match it up with the signature pattern. Your spirit's your true state of being. But unfortunately, the Catholic Inquisition removed all data, all teachings, everything that Jesus taught, everything that this movement, the Christing or transfiguration of your spirit, from animal to divine, all removed. So the whole world, like I said, is in darkness. You're in the inversion of what is really true.
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, everything's in reverse. Everything that they teach us is not really what it is. It's backwards.
I'm afraid it is, sir. And until that changes, you can't change what's happening because everybody is deaf, dumb, and blind, and they will make all their decisions according to their animal conscious behavior. Until that's awakened, you're only half of what you are. Until you enter the divine realm, go through the protocol, you're only half of what you can be.
Well, weren't we talking about that earlier, Santo? That the education system isn't teaching, training. It's training an animal to do tricks.
Yeah, well, I see it as they're educating people rather than enlightening people. I mean, surely you can learn everything from enlightenment and enlighten people how everything works and explain it with enlightenment. You know what I mean? Shed light on them. I think education is like darkness on the other hand. They're darkening people's minds, you know, giving them false scientific facts and beclouding their minds rather than enlightening. Surely we could have, you know, I mean, enlightenment would be a better way to teach people anything.
Yeah, well, in Scottish, du is dark, if I remember correctly. So, darkcation. I don't know. Just a thought.
Yeah. Well, look, Thomas More complained about this 500 years ago, didn't he? When in his Utopia, his famous quote where he said, in fact, I've got it right here. I just realised it's right next to me on my desk. He said, "You allow these people to be brought up in the worst possible way, and systematically corrupted from their earliest years. Finally, when they grow up and commit the crimes that they were obviously destined to commit ever since they were children, you start punishing them. In other words, you create thieves and then punish them for stealing." So it seems that it's the same modus operandi now, isn't it?
It is.
Yes.
Your consciousness is only made up of the memory that you take in this life. Your spirit's at its mercy. The spirit can't come out in front of you and say, "Hey, guy, you're getting in trouble here. You better not listen to this." Can't do that, unfortunately. Yes, well, that was the purpose for the Inquisition, so that you would all remain animal human. And that was part of the whole plan on their part, and it's very successful.
Yeah.
5 million people were killed, sons and daughters of God were killed in those 600 years.
Yeah, well, when you have the power to snatch somebody and burn them at the stake because they disagree with you, yeah, that's pretty powerful leverage there.
It is.
Leverage.
When I work with persons and I ask an access imagery program to the spirit, many times what surfaces is the fear of the church itself. That's intrinsic within you. Because after all, you're born 1.5 life per century. That means about 20 years in between death and birth and up in the divine realm. Choose what you have to do, look over things, choose your parents, sign a contract with your mother, and then fuse with her baby's body. And then within a week after your birth, your whole life is passed before your eyes from birth until death that you signed a contract with. Now, do you have deja vu?
I do.
Okay. Yeah, occasionally I've had it. Yeah.
Okay, your spirit goes out of the body, goes into the future timeline according to what's written in your book, so that your physical body is in the proper position to take in the lessons that you predestined yourself for. When your body reaches that future point, then you have deja vu, and then your spirit will leapfrog again. 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, 6 months, depending upon your schedule in life. If you get off of that schedule and you have no deja vu, you soon drop into depression because you somehow disconnected from the path that you had pre-written and the push from your book of life. Got it?
Mm. Yep.
Yep.
Barbara, can you explain to the listeners, please, what it is you do? Because that might shed a bit of light on the process here. That's very important and very interesting. Please, if you could spend a few minutes on that, that would be lovely.
Well, I came here because of to be a divine intervention. I come from God the Mother, and from birth on, I had many external divine experiences. That's where the room goes silvery white, and you communicate with divine beings, beings of light, etc. And as I grew up, I had to know Earth. And it was arranged, so I married a scientist and moved to China Lake in order to know what's going on in Earth in science, missile systems, oceanographic research, etc. And at the same time, I was attending UCLA, Stanford, and Berkeley in the field, at that time, what was understood as reincarnation, altered states of consciousness, etc. And knowing where the churches were at, I took theological studies so that I know exactly where you stood as far as the churches and your Holy Bible. And then by it's about 1977, both my boys, I had the honor of giving birth to 2 sons. Michael was the submarine commander for the Pacific Fleet in World War II, came back to me, and he was a Medal of Honor. Of course, I wouldn't want any other type of spirit to fuse with my baby's body because I knew how he was going to grow up. They had to be very advanced and a very advanced immortal. Peter fought under Patton and fought with him all the way up to the Battle of the Bulge. And he explained during his recovery of memory that when his tank was blown up, he just, spirit separated from this biological body, walked out as he looked at that particular moment, and standing with others, a German came up, German surgeon, and introduced himself, and they all talked, and then they looked up, and there was this huge angel above him. Took her arm and just pulled them all up into the heavens at the same time. And then he returned to me in 59. So your spirit is eternal, you might say. And with all my studies and where Earth is at, helped me to understand what to do. And at that time, both boys went off to school. And I had another external divine experience. This time, the room went silvery white, but an angel knelt down beside me in a prayer position. And then this huge, deep voice of the Father stated, "It is time to go forth. Thou shalt be called woman of God." And then the picture left. And I didn't know what he meant exactly what to do with that. And so I was praying that they'd come back and give me some more information. And then the next night, the whole room went silvery white again. I thought, oh, good, I'm going to get an answer. But this time, it opened up in a V shape of angels. And the angels were singing Hallelujah. They sang Hallelujah 3 times. And then on the third one, it says, go forth, bring the children unto the Father, for they have lost the way. And I knew exactly what to do then. And so left, went to the nearest town, started lecturing about your spirit, trying to bring back all of original purpose for life on earth. And at the end of the lecture, I laid everybody down on the floor, altered their state, and directed their spirits up into the divine realm to talk to the family of God. And then at the end of the lecture, we discussed many of the experiences. I had 4 classes. I stayed for 4 weeks in each town, and I've traveled throughout the whole United States since 1977 forward.
Wow.
Until 1990, which I had to stop because the born-again Christians had taken over all of the newspapers and so on, so I couldn't get any lectures at that time. They wouldn't announce it because they don't believe in the family of God concept or any living concept. So anyway, that's how I got started, and that's what I'm here for, is to bring Earth back into a planet of light instead of darkness.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm sure there's many more with you on that one, Barbara. Many more have turned up at this time to continue the good work.
I hope so.
Mm-hmm.
We have one in Bulgaria now that's coming along. I think you know him, Santos.
You're referring. Yeah.
Yeah. Peter.
Yep.
And he's been on your program.
No, I've been on his.
That's great.
3 times, in fact, and probably tomorrow again. I forget. It's Peter and Angela on Revolution Radio.
Yep. Peter's a big person's into the divine realm now. He's coming along very fast. He's very advanced. He's lived in Jesus' time and listened to his teachings, and it was very deep in those teachings. So now it's just recovery of what he had learned. And then we have Matthew in the UK is coming along, and several students here in the United States. But the only persons we can work with are those that are interested in returning to their true state of being. And that's being the most advanced spirit on the planet. You have full communication with the family of God. You're transferring your material memory into the nature of the Father and Mother, which enhances your whole personality profile. And I've worked with scientists where they have access to temples in heaven to advance their research. And I have offered that process to all philosophies during the years I was on the road. And I was turned down by everyone, including the American Association. Or you would have had the cure for cancer and all diseases by now. Even the psychological field is way off base in their psychological, you might say, counseling. And,
no kidding.
No, they're way off and making many persons even worse. If you have ECT, electroconvulsive therapy, that's like sending an electrical current through your hard drive. It's actually the same type of damage. Because your spirit is a very fine electromagnetic type of field. It's made up of subatomic quantum particles of millions of years of experience and knowledge, all knit together. And it's learned how to run this biological system that you call the human body. And it has a third brain that allows you to reason. That's when you step from the animal realm into human for the first time. You don't know how to reason. and you're instinctually driven by the celestial daughter, and there's a celestial son who rule earth. It's their light that you go into between death and birth. Or if you have a near-death awareness, you'll see this brilliant light that you call the heavens. That's their radiating light from their spiritual bodies. They are great beings. And that was absolutely totally removed. The Christus daughter and Christ's son are very different. They're mostly associated with you personally. You created both, the Christus daughter and Christ's son. They are yours. Every single solitary immortal has a Christus daughter and Christ's son. And they keep within them your divine aspects so that they're not damaged by human behavior. And every time you hug them or touch them, they're passing into you the perfect love that you have attained at this time. Eventually, when the human gets up into the crown stage, you can access all negative memories, remove them, and you're purified. At that time, the Christus daughter will walk into you, infuse her entire being. It takes your breath away for about 5 minutes. And then the Christ Son will do the same thing, and then the Father picks you up to award you the 2 robes of glory, all understanding and all knowing. At that time, you finish up life, but you have no more purpose to be in symbiosis with the biological system. And you're now serving the galaxy as a being of light, very intelligent, very large, and with lots of good things to do. So that's it in a nutshell.
Wow.
Yep. Totally different than what you've heard. But if you decode the Bible, every noun in the Bible has a sacred meaning. It's called the language of the gods. And all symbols that you see placed on rocks or temples and so on and so forth, those symbols are in the same language. And it addresses the nature of your spirit and its history, or what you're here for. Templars knew that. That's why they were called Templars. They ascended into the divine realm with the protocol, attended temples for advanced education. But they were also fulfilling let me describe this. Let me do it differently. Do you know what 666, you've heard of that, right?
Yep.
Yep, I think everybody has.
Oh, yeah.
It has been turned into an inversion, that it means Satan, and that's very, very untrue. That was done by the Catholic Church. The Cycle of Life program contains within 6 stages, 6 evolutionary advancing stages. And it starts out with Eden. That's where you first arrive on this planet. Second one is the fall. That's where you're going through the animal realm in order to learn how to see, how to hear, how to run this biological system that you call human. And then you graduate from there into human. That starts the mortal Hades stage, learning how to reason. And then if you want to become immortal, you have to ask to do so. And then you start the awakening, rise, and crown stage to begin your transfer out of animal human into a divine being of light. Well, these same 6 stages the world goes through. That's your first 6. Every world stage is played out, and in its 3rd world stage, humans are placed here to evolve. And that's the Hades awakening state. That was called Civilization 1. That was removed at the end of the crown stage and reestablished Earth for what you now are in, Civilization 2, the awakening stage. This will be wiped clean in AD 4000 for the beginnings of Civilization 3, and then 4. That's the sixth stage, the crown stage for Earth. But in each civilization passes through its same 6 stages, each stage in a 2,000-year period. Its design is required according to the world stage that it's in. The human evolves in their own 6 stages. That's the third 6. But the human must evolve through the lessons that the civilization is in which you are born. But you can pass as fast as you would wish if you can access the Divine Life program. So that's your 666. It's the evolution of the world, civilization, and the human. It adds up to 18, and that's the sacred number for the celestial Christus daughter. 18. That's why she had 18 pillars around her temples in Greece as Athena and so on. That was her logos name. She's also known in the Egyptian society as Isis, whereas the Christ Son was known as Apollo in Greece, and in Egypt, Osiris. So this civilization, you have thousands of off-world advanced immortal spirits that transferred here, born into the human form, but with a destiny to build each of the cultures. And all of the cultures and all of the idealists that came in from off-world knew the Cycle of Life program because their planets also practiced it. Every planet and every throughout all of the galaxies that have sentient spirits on them are all governed by the Cycle of Life program. That's so that the spirits can travel from planet to planet, galaxy to galaxy, to do their thing. Well, these same spirits are still here. It's like they signed up so that they're in the final stages and they can gain their crown at this time. Because Civilization 2 is just entering the crown stage, the last stage from AD 2000 to AD 4000. That's why I'm here to reestablish the program for all of these advanced immortals that now have the opportunity for completion. Did you kind of get that?
Yeah, the cycle of life, that's related to the 666, yeah? The 6 stages in each. Mm.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's why
that would...
The menorah has 3 candles on the left, 3 candles on the right. Those are your 3 stages for involution and evolution. The candle in the middle represents your crown. Every one of the civilizations started out with this information. That's why all of their symbols match the Cycle of Life language of God. Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No. That's what I wanted to clarify, because the cycle of life would obviously be in the holy scriptures of the Jewish Christian system, but of course the churches would be in denial of it, so to speak, wouldn't you say? They're in denial of every allegorical, beautiful, poetic, scientific expression that's in that golden book.
Oh, yeah. But that's because of the Inquisition, the Catholic Inquisition. All of the churches formed after the Catholic Inquisition and the Catholic philosophy established. They only know what the Catholic philosophy is. That they don't know anything else. And so
That's
I don't
right.
care whether you're Mormon or Protestant, science of mind, I don't care. You are still Catholic. They're practicing the Catholic philosophy, unfortunately.
Yeah,
And
yeah, for sure.
that's why I'm a divine intervention to bring everything back to what is right. But it's living. It's not just a faith. It's a living encounter that your spirit has with the divine realm. An injective living encounter. That's the difference. Okay. Any questions?
Beautiful. I'll let Ravana shoot off a question.
Are you still there, Guy?
Yeah. How did you know I had a question, Santo?
Oh, you've been quiet for too long. I can see it's been cooking up.
Okay. The 666 thing. That's really interesting. So I was wondering if that corresponds with the 12 signs of the zodiac, the 12, the ancient Greek and Roman gods, and then there was the 12 for Egypt, and there was always a set of 12 around.
Yes.
How does that translate, or does it?
It does. The astrological studies are very viable. They are a study, usually at the beginning, at the initiation of the astrological studies, the beings that formed this study for Earth were all from off worlds, all immortals. They were capable of going into the divine realm to work out the whole program. Now, in the cycle of life, you have 6 stages. Well, each of those stages have an upper and lower, and it does follow the astrological wheel. So actually, in the cycle of life, 6 stages, you do have 12 aspects. You understand?
Yep.
Yeah. And then just a little further note on that, the Sumerian mathematical system was all based on 60 or 6 times 10. So that would
Right.
fit in also, yeah.
That means 10 is the sacred word for completion. Anytime that you have 6 times 10, that means that the rest of the scripture, or whatever you're reading, tends to the definition of the completion of the cycle of life program. All the numbers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, if you look at the tree of life, the 10 on the tree of life is the crown, and that's God or Godhead or Godhood. So, yeah,
That's right.
That makes sense.
Your spirit is now all contains individualized, though, nature of the God, Father, and Mother. Yes, you have experienced and created your own psychological profile of material aspects. That's what makes you an individual. Those aspects are then transfigured or Christed. That's where the word Christian comes from. It's out of the Greek, and it means the transfiguration of a material aspect into the nature of the Father and Mother. But that's only the part of the Father and Mother that you're taking in. Besides, when you go into the divine realm, as soon as you step off of the cloud itself means divine truth. So every step that you take, you're taking in the divine truth of the Father and Mother. And then when I walk you to the falls of white sparkling energy over the rock of God, that is filled with the nature of the Father and Mother going within you. And then I walk you to meet with your Christus daughter. And she's actually in charge of your whole evolution. And your spirit usually wants to hug her. It's the conscious mind that may not, but that's only because the conscious mind is unknowing. And then I walk you to the temple of being. And as you walk into that temple, you're taking in and reestablishing your entire being. That is your temple. And your book of life is in there. There's many, many other things in there too that you can access. And then we usually pull Excalibur, and that's the eternal sword of truth, or flaming sword. And it's placed in a rock. The rock is a symbol for your spirit. So it's divine truth locked up in your spirit. And if you want to access and be transfigured for the honor of entering temples for unlimited truth, you reach over, pull the sword out of the stone, point it upward toward God. He strikes it with a bolt of lightning that comes down through your spirit and transfigures you for the honor of entering temples. And then you go to the Temple of Truth, which you're going to find in the Arthurian myth. That's all in the same code. You lay your sword on the table, which represents the whole cycle of life program, and let go of it. And whatever happens to the sword determines your position at this very moment that you do this in relationship to divine truth. And then we walk to a great pyramid of light, and then up to the Christ Son, and talk to him again. Great love and honor, and then back down to your garden of the soul. So that's the basic protocol in all of the galaxies and all the sentient planets, and it's supposed to be included on Earth.
Well, it was, wasn't it, with the Egyptians and the Mayans?
And the Greeks.
Yep, they had it. They had the holy science. The Marcus Manilius calls it the holy science.
Mm-hmm. Marcus Aurelius was one of the advanced immortals that came here to help rule Earth, or help to design it and get it going. That's why his writings are still prominent.
Yeah, his meditations. He was one of the Antonine Caesars in the year 160 CE. I was referring to Marcus Manilius, the astrologer to Caesar Augustus, though, there.
Okay.
Marcus Manilius sounds similar, doesn't it? But Marcus Manilius, in his beautiful poem about astrology called Astronomica, 5-part book, of which my stuff is all based on Marcus Manilius, basically. And
Santos,
yeah, it's sorry.
Is your spirit him?
Oh, look, I would love for it to be. I would love for it to be. When I read Astronomica, I'm at home.
All right, then that's a very strong possibility. We'll have to take you back and see. Now, if that's true, it's time for you to enter the divine realm in that subject and upgrade it to the crown stage, the position of the stars at this time. You wrote it according to the BC period at that moment, or turn of the century. I'm not quite sure when he lived. So now update it. Update all of his works.
Yeah, I would love to.
All right.
Well, I've done quite a bit actually, because there are some amazing truths that he revealed to the world back then that I've reissued in my videos, especially dealing with the cardinal points of the yearly, the equinoxes and the solstices. I've put a lot of information out from his works. I've showed how he explained the beautiful slowing down of the sun above the equator. It's the sun above the equator by the way, is 9 to 10 days longer than the sun below the equator. So your summer period is longer than your winter period in the northern hemisphere. And he explains all that and how that takes place. That's all in my videos. A lot of stuff from his works. A lot of stuff.
Well, you sound pretty much like him, my dear. I bet you are. Now let's get upstairs and get into the year 2012, going on to AD 4000.
Yep.
Think about it.
Yeah, some people are calling that the next 2,000 years of the Age of Aquarius, the Dragon's Breath, the Light of Sion, the Photon's Belt. Any comments, Barbara, please?
Well, yes, the Aquarian is truth, divine truth, and it has to be human. That's why I'm the Christ figure for this period. You have to be human. It has to come out of the mother. The Common Era, Jesus came out of the Father. That's for the rise stage. That's masculine. That had to be. And what were some of your other symbols? What were some of the others? What were some of the other symbols you named?
The Photon Belt, the Light of Sion, the Dragon's Breath.
Well, the dragon was this great symbol for the the turmoil in life. The color of the dragon added to the definition for the person who was seeing the dragon. Fighting the dragon is where you're accessing negative memories to get rid of them because they cannot be Christed. The fire coming from the dragon is usually divine fire. Divine fire is a great symbol for the Father's nature in the human form, but it's like love. I love you, son, but in, you might say, a material symbol. Okay, now what were some of the others?
The Light of Sion.
How you spell the song?
S-I-O-N, and usually many words end in that.
Oh, Sion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's associated with the father and mother both. That's in code. S is a great sacred symbol for the snake or reincarnation. I is become one. Through reincarnation, you can become one, 0 or O, the cycle of life, through the cycle of life, and N is going down, up to the top, down again, and then up for the completion, the crown stage where you never return to Earth, which is a symbol, if you return to Earth, it's the symbol M. This is N, where you will not return to Earth.
Yeah, interesting
Yahweh?
that...
Go ahead.
Interesting that the letter S is in the middle of the name Christ. Christo.
Well, Christ, or Christus, that comes out of the Greek. That's not in code. That's not coded.
No.
Christ means the Apollo's ability to Christ or transfigure your material memory into the nature of the Father and Mother. That's basically what the word means.
Yeah, it's an Egyptian word too. It's on the Palermo stone in the museum in Sicily, in Palermo, and they've called it the Palermo stone. But anyway, there you have Horus acknowledging himself as Krast. You see, the Egyptians had Karast. That was their word. And of course the Greeks, Christus, and the Romans, of course, Christo. And by the way, when you come to the letter Q in the alphabet, you actually read out the name of Christ. You've got QRST. QRSTU, all in a row. And that spells Christu in anybody's books. In fact, in any alphabet, you'll find that QRSTU are always in sequence.
Mm-hmm.
Always. And there it is, hiding in the alphabet, Christu.
Right. All right.
In Italian, we say QRSTU.
Very good, love.
So it's in the same. It's lined up the same way. Even in the Italian alphabet, in the Spanish, I've done it in all. Done it in Arabic. I've got my Assyrian friends to show me in the alphabet, and there it is. K. The Q is kaf. Anyway, whatever the others are, but anyway, it always QRSTU right there in the alphabet, and the first letters of the alphabet are A, B, alpha, bet, alpha, beta, and AB is short for Abba, the Father, and
That's
then
right.
the middle letter of the alphabet is the M, and it's right next to the N, and they represent the undulating waves of water. In fact, in Egyptian hieroglyphs, the M and the N have to do with water.
That's
And
right.
and the sign of Aquarius is the same thing. You see, the glyph for the sign of Aquarius is just the tops, the crests of the waves, just like the letter M and the letter M. So basically, you've got the Father, the Mother, and the Son in the alphabet, all in order. The Father starts the alphabet, Abba. The Mother is in the middle, M and N, and they both have to do with maritime and Mary and water and magnetism and all the feminine properties. And then right after M and N, you've got O, P, and then QRSTU, Christ, the Son.
Uh-huh.
The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, or the Father and the Son and the Dove, or the Father and the Son and the Mother, the Holy Mother.
Well, the dove is a sacred symbol for the mother.
Yep.
In the language of the gods. And Q now in the sacred wording is a symbol for God the Mother and her lower aspect, the celestial daughter and the Christus daughter. That's in the alphabetical thing. I don't know if that goes along with your knowing or not.
Yep, absolutely it does. The Christ figure really, the true Christ is pretty much hermaphrodite in the middle, you know. It's not really, he's not necessarily a man, although he can be, but he's also a man that is in the middle because, and this is why the Catholic Church have a lot of depictions of Jesus in a very, very effeminate sort of a way. In fact, the Mona Lisa by Da Vinci is called the Gioconda, which means the playful one, because she's actually, well, a hermaphrodite. Mona Lisa has to do with Ammon and Isis. So it's telling you that Hermes and Aphrodite have come together in the middle, you know, to balance, bring the balance back.
Well, in your evolution, you are a woman and you are a man as you evolved. You have to fuse in symbiosis with both biological bodies. That's for balance, yes. When you have emotions that are emitted during your interaction in life, they are usually either feminine or masculine. If they're feminine, they leave, your heart chakra sends them upward into the Christus daughter. That's called transmutation. She receives it, keeps a copy of the higher state, but sends the higher state down into you embedded in a dream. Your CPU then takes that and integrates it into the proper matrices within your spirit for growth. That's continuous all day long, every life. The masculine are transmuted upward to the Christ Son. Same process. He keeps the higher state, turns it and transfers the copy into a dream back down into you for your CPU to integrate it into your spirit. That's continuous from the first time that you're human on. So that process continues. That's how the Christus daughter and Christ son grow. They are never human. Never human. You're basic, when you become a son or daughter of God, an immortal, you evolve. As soon as you get the crown stage and you attain the crown, then you're a Christed being of light. You're a Christed, completed being. Jesus never said, I am God. Just as I will never say, I am God the Mother. Whoa, ho. Big, big, big error. No, 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 no. In fact, in 1983, I was on the road for 6 years. And then I had to pass the test. It's called the water initiation. And that's where my car just went haywire, flew over a cliff, nosedived 75 feet into the river, sunk 25 feet to the bottom, and you're in it. In this water initiation, you're placed in a position where you cannot save yourself. That's when you're looked at, your background, where's your ego, things like that. And I sat there, and as the car just filled up with water very fast up to the floorboard, and tried all exits. No door, blocked by boulders, and tried the sunroof handle, and it just spun in my hand, so I knew it was broken. And then about that time, you were thinking about, gee, this is not good. You're going to drown in this car. And then all of a sudden, my spirit took over, and with my mind, both of us, asking God the Father for help. And right at that moment now, the Father can turn his back and you will drown if things have not added up for your service to earth in truth. And they added up, and the whole inside of the car lit up with light, and the Father's deep voice said, your electric window button. And I pressed it, and it went down. Now, I was going through the drowning stages at the time where my diaphragm was spasming. And as soon as I got out of the window, it felt so good to feel that current take me, but I passed out. Now, when a person's usually unconscious, you breathe in the water. But on my way up, I did not. So the Spirit did not allow my body to breathe in the water. When I reached the surface, the guy on the road up at the top said that I came to the surface face down, which unconscious persons do. And then there was a white light that surrounded my body. He said it came out of nowhere. And I was rolled over. And I woke up, face up, floating down river. And I heard this young man yelling, hey, lady. And that's what brought me around, and I was incredibly out of breath. Incredibly out of breath. Then I thought to myself, gee, I better go over to the side. So I swam over to the side, and with his help, this young man's help, we climbed up over the boulders up to the top of the road. It was on the road that goes along the Trinity River in Northern California. And walked up to where my car went over and the people had stopped and so on and so forth. And then everybody disappeared. Everyone, everything. And it was just brilliant light all around that I could see. And then the Father said, go forth in truth, thou shalt wear a crown. And then the light disappeared. So I had passed the water initiation to be the Christ figure for this period in history on earth. And I've kept my ego in place ever since. I'll tell you that right now. Anyway, went to the hospital, nothing wrong, no hypothermia, nothing. And got a new car in a couple of days for the insurance company, and then was on schedule for my next lecture in 4 days later, which I carried out.
God, you just kept going.
Yeah.
Not even a break to just stop and think about what had happened. You'd fallen off a cliff 75 feet into the water.
You're looking down. And afterwards, when they pulled my car out, and I went to the garage to get my things out, the hood, I had a new Volvo, by the way, 1984 Volvo, and the hood was wrapped up over the windshield and bent over the top of the car. That's why I couldn't have gotten out of the sunroof if I wanted to. So that was kind of, because it went in, and then sort of like the rear end coming forward as it hit the water, and that's what wrapped the hood up over the car. You should have seen the front end of that car, just like I'd hit a brick wall.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Quite a mess.
Quite a mess. Excuse me. We got a question from the chat, and it was, let me get back to it here. Okay. Someone had, I don't know if it was a dream or a vision or what exactly, but they saw a dragon with the colors black and red and a bit of yellow and orange. And I don't know if you can answer that or not.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's telling him his whole state of being at the present time. The black represents he has negative memories, possibly from trauma, from being in the war, beat up, don't know. But they're very accessible and very capable of healing it. He can. All right. Red is assertive. Get out there and get going in life. He must have, or she has a good personality. Yellow is kingship over earth. In past lives, gaining kingship, controlling life, getting into life, wanting to be there and handling it. Orange is a combination of gold and yellow and red, which comes down to in the process of creating wisdom, in the process of being assertive, to attain completion as an immortal. This person has to be an advanced immortal, probably up in the rise stage. Possibly also flying in the dreams when he was a kid, he or she. Is there any feedback from that?
I don't see any yet, but I actually have a question along those lines because I had a vision at one point of one, well, I don't really necessarily call it a vision, but it was solid black with very light silver highlights and silver white eyes. What would that say to you?
Well, that would be living in darkness, which you are. Everybody is on earth until you awaken. But you're passive to the idea of entering into the study of and research for divine life. Eyes are always perception. So your perception of life is typical for your consciousness at this time. I would earnestly attempt or work with somebody like myself or someone to enter the divine realm and level yourself out, Guy, for the real purpose in life and get rid of any negative memories that you might have. Because negative memories just hold you back.
Right. Well, that was something that I had seen when I was about 18 years old, so about 24, almost 25 years ago now. So,
yeah.
That pretty much describes my state. That was when I was going through basic training in the military, so yeah.
Uh-huh.
I can see that.
Well,
thank you.
You designed it.
Yeah, I did at that. You know.
Mm-hmm. That's your purpose, guy. That's all right.
Yeah, half the time I'm running around going, why did I do that? That was dumb when I look back at it. But, when I'm going to do the thing, it's like, well, it's not going to be that bad. And then I get to the other side and I'm like, oh, that was awful. Why did I do that?
Mm.
You got
But
to
I look back on some of it now and I would not have been the person that I am now if I hadn't gone through a lot of stuff. So.
There you go. Good. Excellent. Be proud of yourself.
Yeah, there's no use. There's no use regretting the fact that, you married the wrong woman or what you considered to be, or you went to, you served and, when you did war and you killed someone. There's a lot of people who have done that, and all is forgiven, as Barbara said before. All is forgiven when one is, depending on how one does things, and the court system acknowledges that. I mean, that's why they've got degrees of murder, haven't they? First degree, second degree, etc., manslaughter, because there are things that have to do with intent. What is the intent behind all of your actions, etc. So, it's it's not about regretting anything that you've done. It would be sad though if you repeated things that you didn't learn from those bitter things, and you went continuously repeating these dumb things, and that's what unconscious, unawakened people do. That's why it's urgent, really imperative that they awaken. Barbara, we've got 4 minutes left. Oh, I've just absolutely enjoyed listening to you, and we'll have to do it again, of course. If not next week, it'll be in a couple of weeks. But how would you like that?
That would be great with me. And any comments or write-ins, I'd be happy to answer those questions if you have any after the show's over or whatever. I'm not sure how you work.
We can do that through the show. We've got lovely Cat Wolf in the background who organises all that for us. She's an absolute gem.
Okay.
Aren't you, Cat?
Thank you.
Would you like to? Would you like to just finish off then with some concluding comments and perhaps some contact details for anyone interested to get in touch with you and further their knowledge on this? I guess next time we have you back, we're going to sort of get you to perhaps elaborate more on this, on the 6 cycles and everything, and give the listeners a really good, enlightened perspective on it and everything, so that they can see if it's for them, and etc. But we'll let you just close off with some words of wisdom and some contact details and anything you'd like to say.
Okay, well, my website is www.temple, Temple, Chryses, CHRYSES.org. And on my website, I have all contact information. I do work with persons all over the world over Skype. I can do it on the telephone, but it's awfully expensive, if you're in a foreign country. But Skype is pretty much free, guys. It's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Remember that your dreams are in 4 different categories. Some precognitive, some reviewing past lives, and some just downloading data, and some directive. So listen to your dreams, especially if you wake up at night. And by all means, write down your visions. Visions are where you're objectively looking at a picture on the wall. The room goes silvery white, or you're in a meditation and zoom, there's a whole scenario placed in front of you. Know that it is in code, the language of the gods. And hope to hear from all the sons and daughters of God out there. You guys have been asleep for 1,000 years. Time to wake up. And I guess that's it. Santos?
Could you just repeat the website one more time for us? Thank you very much.
www.temple, TEMPLECHRYSES.org.
Awesome. Thank you. I don't know, is Santo having problems? There we go. You with us there?
Yeah, no. Yep, I'm good. I think I might have had mute on my mic, but I just wish to say then in concluding, thank you very much, Dr. Barbara Young, for being with us. It's been absolutely wonderful. And again, thank you, Ravana. It's always a pleasure to have you. Your words of wisdom are also very enlightening, and I thank you as a friend. And Barbara, we look forward on this show to hearing from you, hopefully next week, if not the week after. How would you like that?
That'd be great. We can get into all kinds of stuff. Precognitive, walking in time, how